Package Oliver typewriter in there.
Just one.
And books. Lots of books. And manuscript pages and my things.
Oh.
What are you doing?
Taking a break. This trunk was a real nut twister.
Oh, really?
You know what I mean. And again, maybe you don't.
Don't you dare strike that match. The owners of this inn are wonderful to Miss Cather. Didn't they warn you she is not well? And you were going to fill her rooms with the smell of cigarettes.
Just one? No, what's the matter with Willa?
No.
I beg your pardon?
Is she sick? Is she tired? Has she had an accident?
Miss Cather is depressed. She's lost her longest and once closest friend, Isabel McClung, after a long, lingering illness. And then not 2 months later, her youngest and favorite brother died quite unexpectedly at 58. Add in what is going on in her beloved Europe with Mr. Hitler and his henchmen, and this has just not been a good year for the world or for Willa.
Poor Willa.
I'd appreciate it if you wouldn't call her Willa. Her name to you is Miss Cather.
She told me last year when I was setting up her tent I could call her Willa.
Well, things have changed. There won't be any need for your help with the tent this year.
That's for sure. The hurricane soaked through all the inn's canvas goods, and then no one could get to them to dry them out, so they smell something awful. I wouldn't go near them no matter how much Willa paid me. Miss Cather.
Can we make an agreement not to bring up the hurricane unless Miss Cather does so first?
Sure, but that's all anyone's talking about these days. Some Boston men were up here taking photos of the damage, and they called it a historical storm. There may not be another one like it, ever. A wicked big blow, if you ask me, really wicked.
The hurricane is why she wanted to get up here, to see for herself what had become of her beloved Jaffrey.
It won't take her much looking to get the idea. And seeing what the storm did isn't going to cheer her up, not one bit. I'm going to go take my bad habits somewhere where they'll be appreciated. Nice to meet you, Miss Lewis.
You can call me Edith.
Now you're really confusing me.
It'll make sense, just give it time. One thing before you go.
Yeah?
Besides having some flu bug she can't shake, Miss Cather is also wearing a brace on her left hand. She's very self-conscious about the brace, so please try not to stare. And whatever you do, definitely don't make any of your country cute comments about it.
Country cute?
She has almost no strength in her hand, so she'll need your help even more this year than last. Don't stare at her infirmity. It only feeds her insecurity, and she is longing to break free.
I'm beginning to see.
And don't ask her if her book is done. I'm afraid that she has just begun, though she has slaved for many a month. The words don't come, don't pry into her feelings, or ask about her love life. Suffice to say that she was not cut out to be a housewife. Willa Cather is a great woman of letters. She's won the Nobel Prize and basically every other award there is. She's a best-selling novelist and a world traveler. It is absolutely essential we treat her accordingly. Do compliment her taste in clothes. She's sophisticated and it shows, from her head down to her toes. Be sure that she knows you'll help her with her and hone your skills as a thespian.
And if reporters question me,
Deny that she's a
That's a shame.
lecturer, lefty,
leper. Something like that. I will carry out her every decree. In her absence, you'll defer to me. Avoid familiarity. That's the best policy.
I see.
Accommodating Willa.
Taking care of Miss Cather.
That's our speciality. lightheaded, dizzy?
If it's you, dear Nancy, then why are you calling me Miss Cather?
Well,
It's my doing, Willa. I'm the one who suggested that Nancy call you by the more formal Miss Cather.
And the last time I saw you, you were going to go to college. That was the plan, yes? Yes?
When Willa Cather asks a question, she expects an answer.
I know.
Well,
Well, I'm sorry. My father got really sick and we were struggling, and then, well, the storm struck and took the farm, and Willa,
I told you not to call her Willa.
If you want someone else to take care of you, I can have that arranged.
Oh, now nonsense. Come here, the both of you. Let's take each little issue as it raises its nasty, smelly head. Otherwise, we'll never survive these next few days together.
So Edith will be staying with you this time.
I don't think I could get rid of her.
Well, it's just that the innkeepers and I were talking, and they said in all the 15 years you've been coming here to Jaffrey, Edith just stays for the first few days to get you settled in and then leaves.
Trying to get rid of me, Nancy? And us having just met.
Have I lost my voice? Are my best days behind me? I'm reeling in darkness. Please, someone find me. Brilliant ideas used to flow from my head to the page. Now my brain has gone dead and I should be enraged. And I can't even get out of bed. I'm too weak to break free from this miserable cage in my mind. Confined, I'm resigned, just an object at rest. Newton's law says it's best. I'm depressed, obsessed. Look at me now. I'm a god-awful mess. For the sum of my words is all that I am, can't you see? And now that they're gone, is there anything left of me? The ember that once burned so brightly has faded to gray. Will I rise from the ash like the phoenix, or dwindle away?
So you're having trouble writing?
The girl's a genius.
For the sum of my words is all that I am, can't you see? And now that they're gone, is there anything left of me? The ember that once burned so brightly has faded to gray. Will I rise from the ash like the phoenix, or dwindle? Arise from the ash like the phoenix, or dwindle? Arise from the ash like the phoenix, or dwindle away. Thank God I write with my right hand, but I need the left also. I mean, to pick the paper up, to turn it over, play with it, curl it while I'm trying to decide what to do with the words. Oh, impossible to write without both hands. Simply impossible.
It's not just the hand, is it?
No, it's not. Please don't tell anyone, Nancy dearest, but for the first time in my lengthy and somewhat productive writing career, I've run out of words to write. I've got a half-finished novel that I've started 3 times and I haven't been able to complete.
Willa Cather has finished every story she's ever started.
Well, until now.
Except this one.
The girl is a genius.
No, you're repeating yourself, Edith. Never a good idea in life or in fiction. And then there's Hitler in Europe, the Emperor in Japan, the Depression the world over, death, so many deaths. And now this hurricane in northern New England, no less.
May I ask what this one is about?
Be my guest.
It is Willa Cather's most personal novel, I think. It's about Virginia and her growing up in Virginia. It takes place just before and then after the Civil War.
What's the title?
Sapphira and...
And the slave girl.
Sapphira and the Slave Girl. May I read it?
I told you it's not done yet.
I mean the part that is written.
It is about Willa Cather's roots.
I love those books. The immigrant women fighting wolves, weather, wild men. May I please read what you've written, Willa? I won't tell a soul, I promise. I could read it in your rooms or on the steps.
Don't you have work to do?
Since the hurricane, we haven't had very many guests. There's not going to be a leaf season this year. The branches are either bare or broken.
Oh, please don't state the obvious. Just look out the window if you're brave enough.
So is the new book about Nebraska?
I said Virginia. Try to keep up, please.
Virginia. I don't know anything about Virginia.
No, I don't either, apparently.
Now, Willa Cather, let's not be hearing you say that.
Well, if I ever did know anything about it, I've forgotten it.
You're funny, Willa.
Be
Miss
careful.
Cather.
Am I? Hard to imagine. Well, we all thought Herr Hitler was funny a few years ago. No one's laughing now.
It's time to dress for dinner. Thank you for all of your help, Nancy. We'll talk more about the new book tomorrow. Willa Cather has too much on her mind to think any more about it.
I'm sorry.
Oh, please. Don't be. None of this is your fault. None of it at all.
Oh, welcome to Jaffrey, New Hampshire and the Shattuck Inn, Edith, Willa. If there is anything I can do to help make your stay here more pleasant, please do not be afraid to ask. I got that down looking good, don't I? Oh, it's so nice to have you back here in Jaffrey, Willa. I'm sorry that circumstances couldn't be better.
I had forgotten what a dear she is. What dears they all are. They must really be hurting with this hurricane and everything. I mean, just look at the woods, the fields, the roads. It's like a war zone after the battle's been lost. I think it's a good idea we came to Jaffrey this year, Edith. Don't you?
Before we go down to dinner, there is something else we must discuss.
Uh-oh, who died?
You. Unless you get this 20-page introduction done to your collected works. Do you see these telegrams? They're all from your publisher, each one asking a different question about your life, your work. They're going to piece it together like a quilt, whether you help them or not.
I didn't want to do a collected works. It makes me sound like I'm dead.
But you did want the money.
Yes. Helping with Isabel's arrangements, settling my brother's affairs.
Sending those anonymous checks to Nebraska every month.
I know. There are many reasons why I subjected myself to this 20 pages of soul-wrenching. Oh, what kinds of questions are they?
Ready? Is it true Willa Cather went by William Cather, M.D., cut off all of her hair, and dressed as a man when she was a teen in Nebraska?
You can answer that one. Next.
If you were such a brilliant drama critic and you loved the theater so much, why didn't you ever write a play?
It's because I was a brilliant drama critic and I loved the theater so much that I never wrote a play. Next.
That's a fun answer.
Next.
I thought you'd sleep in.
I have an idea.
It's a good sign. Yes?
Yes. I think we will let her read what is written,
Nancy,
but in a different way.
are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure. Are you coming down for breakfast with me?
I already arranged them to bring up your breakfast.
I'd rather go down. Usually when I'm here, I'm madly writing, and I've forgotten how small, even claustrophobic, these rooms are.
I barely started to unpack. We could be back in New York in time for a late supper.
You'd like that, wouldn't you, Edith, dearest? But no, I've had this idea, and it's a good one. But I'm afraid it means you'll be staying with me in Jaffrey this year.
How long?
I don't know yet. We'll talk about it after breakfast. Though the ember that once burned so brightly may dwindle and die, still the phoenix ascends from the ashes and takes to the sky.
Ready or not?
Oh, Nancy, dear. Change of plans. We're going to go downstairs to the dining room for breakfast. Is that all right?
Less work for me.
And I had an idea about the book last night.
Sophia and the Slave Girl?
Yes, I would like you to read what is written, but in a different way.
Yeah?
Out loud.
Out loud. Willa Cather, you can't be serious.
Out loud?
Have you ever read a novel out loud before, Nancy dear?
Not since I was a little girl, and those weren't novels, they were storybooks.
Storybooks. I like that. Storybooks are what I write, yes, Edith?
You've never let strangers read your works in progress out loud before, Willa Cather. Never. Not in all the years I've known you. Never.
You think you want to help me figure out why I'm stuck on this Virginia book?
Sure, but like I said, I don't know
Oh,
anything
we'll
about...
start right after breakfast. Edith, will you get the pages ready? Now, I'm going to have you read the main character.
Saphira?
No, Nancy.
Nancy? I'm Nancy!
You are good. I, of course, will read all of the men's parts. There aren't that many of them. It's really more of a woman's story, I mean, at least so far. And maybe that's one of the problems. Let's talk about that when we're done with breakfast. Edith, get those pages.
Look at them. Don't you think it's a trifle odd? They're like two peas in a goddamn pod. Nancy suits her to a T. I wish that I were back in NYC. Look at her. Nancy plays the part a bit too well. Well, she can bloody well go to hell. It seems the odd man out is me. I wish that I were back in NYC. In New York, I reign supreme. There wasn't someone younger, prettier, funnier, batting her eyes in Villa. In New York, I was enough. Cooked her food, washed her clothes, broke her words. God, I could kill her. Look at them. See them watch each other furtively. Nancy smiling so suggestively. That girl will be the death of me. I wish that I were back in NYC. Oh God, just look at me. So consumed with jealousy. But if it all came down to her or me, who knows what Willa's choice would be? I wish that we were back in NYC. Why is it Willa Cather never got married? Does Willa Cather have a boyfriend? Does Willa Cather plan on having children? Need any help, Willa Cather?
With the moustache in a moment.
Can I ask a telegram question? While you're finishing transforming,
Oh, if you must.
Pile just gets taller.
Well, can't the same thing be said about so many things in life, Edith, dear? Horse manure, cow patties, bullshit.
Where do you get most of your writing done? This one even gives you options. New York City, Nebraska, Maine, Newfoundland, Paris.
Jaffrey.
That's the answer, Jaffrey, New Hampshire. The only place on earth I know I can always write. Are you ready to read?
I'm ready if you are.
Nervous?
A little, like I said, I've never done this before.
Willa says you'll be fine, you'll be fine.
Well, I'm ready.
Oh boy!
Mustache, if you please. Did I feel a tingle stirring in my soul? Could I tap into my heart by putting on a mustache? Oh, how droll. And yet it's happening. That Just let me write forever. I need to make some adjustments. I'll be right back. You are going to be splendid, absolutely splendid, Nancy. I can tell already.
One more question before we get started.
Oh, how do men wear these damn little suspenders? They are either too tight or no use whatsoever. Ah, let Nancy answer it.
Okay. Nancy, why Jaffrey? What is it about this little town in the little state of New Hampshire that draws you to it?
The people, the place. It's quiet, relaxed, no one bothers you. If you want to set up a tent in the meadow, type on the Oliver all night, take a walk after breakfast and not get back until dark, lie in bed all day reading, spend the day not talking to anyone, not doing anything.
Just thinking or trying not to think.
That's why, Jaffrey, right?
Couldn't have answered it better myself. Well, braces are tight and I'm ready to go. Edith, have you finished filling that in?
No, haven't had time to yet.
Well, Tut, I'm ready to work. Are you ladies ready to work?
I'm ready. Edith?
Oh, Edith is always ready. Now, I'm going to go over these first couple of pages in chapter 1 while Edith finishes filling you in.
Did you get breakfast? I'm not really much for breakfast, eat, or lunch. It's
And
really
I think
more
we'll
my-
work right through lunch. It's been so long since I worked with poor dear Sapphira. Once I get started, I don't think I'll feel like stopping.
Sapphira and the Slave Girl might be Willa Cather's most personal novel.
To date, Edith, dearest, to date. Not ready to make use of those burial plots just yet.
Sapphira was Willa's grandmother on her mama's side. She was a Southern belle fallen on hard times just before the Civil War. She'd moved her family from Tidewater, Eastern Virginia, to Winchester, but as far west as you can go and still be in Virginia.
This isn't a geography textbook, is it, Edith, dearest? You're going to bore our guest to death.
She's not our guest. She's an employee of the inn and therefore works for us.
Continue, Edith, dearest. Just go easy on the geography, please. Maybe I can cut some of this out.
Oh, it's not cutting we should be thinking about now, it's adding.
I will have to go downstairs to help serve lunch.
Well, of course. Continue, Edith, dearest, and try not to interrupt yourself again.
Sapphira owned a few slaves that she brought with her to Winchester. They helped her husband raise sheep and run a small grist mill. Her husband, Henry the miller, did not own any slaves, but, like many poor whites in what was left of the antebellum South just before the Civil War, he was ready to fight, to retain the right to do so.
Edith will read Sapphira. Edith, dearest.
Yes, Sapphira runs the house, and she...
Oh, let me ride forever. Just let me ride forever, and I will capture each word, erudite or absurd, I don't care. Just let me ride forever. Sapphira was the keeper of the family secrets. She's not a sympathetic character. She was like my grandmother, a holdover from the
Who
old
is
South.
telling this story?
Oh, well, you did. Go on.
One of the biggest of the family secrets has to do with Sapphira's husband, Henry, and one of her slaves, Nancy.
That's you, Nancy.
Nancy's mother.
It was obvious to everyone in the Tidewater area when Nancy was born that she resembled Sapphira's husband's side of the family very, very closely.
So she moved the entire family as far west as she could
To Winchester.
and began a new life there.
Excuse me, sorry to interrupt, but are we gonna read all these pages out loud?
Oh, you think it's too much, too many pages?
It's
So I'm
not
wondering-
enough pages. I've really never not seen Willa Cather finish a story. And this story, this book, she's been working on for 2 years, and it is not finished.
What are you two whispering about over there? I mean, finish the story, Edith, so we can get to the reading.
We'll just read certain scenes, ones Willa Cather isn't sure about, or maybe ones she is sure about but needs to hear to make herself feel more confident.
Huh?
As the years passed, Nancy grew into the most beautiful young woman. She's described as high yellow, which in those days is about the greatest compliment you could pay to a slave girl.
High yellow?
Oh, enough with the interruptions. We'll never get to reading from the book.
As Nancy's beauty grew, Sapphira became more and more obsessed with Nancy and her looks. She surprised everyone the year Nancy turned 20 by inviting her ne'er-do-well nephew Martin to come and live with them.
I play Martin. Let's start there. Once again I feel it. I've tapped into a vein. There's fire in my fingertips and lightning in my reawakened brain. Don't know how long I have, maybe just 1 minute more. But I will ride that wave until it crashes to the rocky shore.
Where do ideas come from? Somewhere beyond my ken. Are we the hands that rise or are we just the pen?
Is any thought
Truly one of a kind?
well, all I know for a moment or so, the stars have finally aligned.
The stars have finally aligned.
Well, let me ride.
Let her ride forever.
Just let me ride.
Let her ride forever.
Let my words turn to phrases, paragraphs, into pages galore. I'll always want this. Just let me ride forever.
Now this is in the early section of the book. The nasty nephew Martin has just arrived, invited by Sapphira. So, the question being, did she want him bothering Nancy, or did she really think he would leave her alone? Now, I'm reading Sapphira as Martin arrives finally, very, very late. You've kept me waiting.
Oh, we'll skip that, go right to me. Now, here I am at the door of the guest room, having exchanged my pleasantries with Aunt Sappy. Need to keep her happy long enough to get back on my feet again. I've lost my horse and all my own cash in a race out west. Whoa, are you Nancy? Good evening, Nancy. I hear that you are going to take care of me, Nancy.
If I can please you,
Oh,
sir.
you please me. Am I allowed to go on the veranda tonight, Nancy?
Certainly, sir. Correcting an implied
I'm
reproach
not
on
shrunk, honey. I can't live like a monk, honey. I'm a man of the world. Now, put my clothes where you think they ought to go, and I'll watch you, so I know where to find them.
Would you like your collars and neckcloths kept in the upper drawer, sir?
Oh, follow your own notion. We have a slut of a housekeeper back home. I never know where to find anything. Just one of the reasons why I'm looking forward to a nice long stay here. Mind if I smoke, honey?
No.
Oh, that's just a joke, honey. We'll just have to add that to the list of services you'll be providing and not telling my aunt about. Opening the window and shooting the smoke out whenever I'm in the mood. My fault. Say whatever you say, sir.
Oh, here, let me do the writing for you.
Oh, this wrist is going to be the death of me.
All of us.
Whatever you say, sir.
I'll work on that.
Oh, sir, your coats and pants and shirts and nightshirts are all thrown into the trunk, so it is confusing to look at it. If you don't mind, sir, I'll take them downstairs directly and press them.
Oh, well, that's a good idea. And don't you forget my dirty socks and soiled underwear. I stuff them into my spare shoes whenever they get so nasty I can't wear them anymore. I've been living in my clothes since Aunt Sappy invited me.
I am embarrassed because this strange guest watched over me so closely.
Anybody ever tell you you're a damn pretty girl, Nancy?
No, sir.
You're trying to make me believe none of these country jakes around here been making up to you, Nancy.
The folks around here are good, kind folks, Mr.
You
Martin.
don't say, honey. I'd laugh, but if I had my way, honey, you would be my girl.
I didn't like his laugh, not at all. He might be kin to Sapphira, but I didn't want him in the house. I go out the door carrying my armful of coats and trousers and shirts and nightshirts, trying not to drop any of the too nasty to touch underwear. That laugh followed me all the way downstairs.
I throw my cigar end out the window. I'm amazed how quickly she's gone. This girl is gonna be fun.
Chapter 2.
Well, of course, we just finished chapter 1, didn't we? Now, how are you doing, Nancy?
Well, that's for you to tell me, Willa.
Oh, well, you're doing just fine, Miss Nancy. Just fine. I'm not sure how I'm doing. I mean, I like the beginning part where Martin's arrival, but I think he needs more background. I mean, make him nicer and then not so nice. I think just a bit of the narrative to start off chapter 2. Nancy can read along to get filled in on the details.
It's dinner time, and Sapphira has dressed up wearing a velvet gown, one of the last holdovers from her Tidewater years. Her husband Henry joins her for dinner and is pleased to see their nephew, but a bit confused as to why Sapphira has invited him for such an open-ended stay. Oh, Sapphira's wheeled in by their ancient but faithful house servant, Old Washington. It's important that we know early on that Sapphira, poor dear, can barely walk. Washington's granddaughter, Katie, is 12 and barefoot and wearing a stiffly starched red calico dress. It's her job to walk round and round the dining room table, waving a long fly brush made of a peacock's tail.
This doesn't sound like New Hampshire.
It's not, dear.
Washington remembered nights like this back in the Tidewater. Turned out Martin was good for something, and that was telling amusing, slightly indecent stories that made his aunt laugh. Bottle after bottle was opened. Katie went home and told her brothers and sisters that she didn't know what had come over folks. Even Henry the Miller, who never said much of anything, was just a-laughing and a-laughing. Katie's a good character, a good way into the others, the life of the slaves.
That's enough. Sapphira's last thoughts, if you will.
You're going to skip over the story of Martin's Blue Tooth, how he fooled countless local girls, the runaway horses, Katie's first taste of snow cream? I seldom have spent such a lively evening, my dear, dear Martin. Certainly not since leaving the Tidewater. I like having young people and their stories in this house. Here, let me pat your hand. Washington, send Nancy upstairs and make sure that Mr. Martin's room is turned down and that he has everything he needs. Good night, one and all. Another fine day tomorrow.
Well, by the time I get to my room, Nancy's already taken off the starched pillow shams.
Do you like the bolsters left on, sir, or just the pillows?
Oh, just the pillows. Never leave the bolster on. Take it away with you, can't you?
Yes, indeed, sir. I pick up the long bolster. It is awkward, hard to carry. Is 2 candles enough for you?
I grab her by the shoulders as she's headed for the door, and I kiss her.
Oh, please, sir, please!
What's there to make a fuss about? That's how I say goodnight to my sister. You ask my
I'm
aunt.
already at the door.
Well, then, don't forget to wake me up for breakfast tomorrow, half an hour early. I'll take you. I'll break you, Nancy. Devour you. Deflower you, Nancy. I'll taste you, embrace you, and after I've debased you, you'll belong to me. I'll hold you and fold you, Nancy. I crave to enslave you, Nancy. Undress you
avoid Mr. Martin over the next few days. She knows she can't discuss her fear of him with Sapphira, but she does find an excuse to visit Henry at the mill, and she does tell him. She does find an excuse to visit Henry at the mill, and she does tell him. Willa Cather, that's you, Henry the Miller.
Oh, I think it would be better if you read Henry the Miller.
Me? You said you were reading all the men's parts.
Edith will read Henry the Miller.
I hear what you're saying, Nancy girl, and I gotta be honest with you. I'm as much in the dark as any of us as to why Sapphira invited him. I know he keeps her entertained, but it is obvious to all of us what his plans are for you. Let's at least say this. Don't go out into the woods or any lonesome place while Mr. Martin's still here. If you have to, you come by here and I'll go with you. Or if I can't go, then I'll get old Washington or even little Katie to go with you. You hear me? You hear me? Oh, yes, sir. Thank you.
I looked at this world-weary old white man and wanted to say so much more, but there was a dark apprehension deep inside me that kept me from using any more words.
Bravo, Nancy, bravo.
Should we take a break now? You've been going at it pretty hard, Willa Cather, and I'm sure Nancy's needed downstairs. Why don't we answer a few more questions and give Nancy a break from storytelling?
Down by the cane break, out by the mill.
There's my answer. Here, you'll need the chair for this next part.
I was playing truant. Hadn't made up Mr. Martin's rooms, instead had gone down to the mill and borrowed a chair that allowed me to scramble up into one of the big cherry trees. I love picking cherries, and I love being up a tree. No troubles follow a body up a tree, and the sunlight on my bare feet and legs makes me light-hearted, foolish, dreamy, not caring that I'd left my work undone.
Dar lived a yellow gal, her name was Nancy Till.
Should I scramble down out of the tree? Likely as not, he'd go along the path and not even notice me if I stay up here amongst the leaves.
I had gone down to the kitchen to complain that my room had not yet been made up, and Bluebell, Nancy's mother, told me, Edith Bluebell.
Oh,
Nancy's
got it,
mother.
got it. Nancy's out picking cherries.
Now, there never was a finer morning for picking cherries or anything else. I thought to myself as I moved along the path towards the cherry trees, I didn't really intend to frighten her, I mean, just to let her know my displeasure over the fact that my room had not yet been made up. Good morning, Nancy, I called up to her. Cherries are ripe, eh? You know that song I was singing? Can you sing like Bluebell?
No, sir, I've got no singing voice.
Oh, well, not have I, but I sing anyway. Can't help it on a morning like this. Come now, Nancy. You're gonna give me something.
Somehow I didn't feel scared of him as he stood down there with his head thrown back. His tone was coaxing but careless. His eyes were clear this morning and jolly. He didn't look wicked. Maybe he just means to tease me and I just didn't know how young men behaved over in the Tidewater.
Maybe we should take a break. Let
Nancy
Nancy.
gonna give me something on such a pretty day. Nancy, let's be friends. Don't want no sour cherries, I want something sweet. Nancy, you look awful pretty sitting up there. Who's your beau, Nancy?
I ain't got none.
Now is that so, Nancy?
I looked away hoping someone was coming.
I stepped up on the chair, grabbed her ankles and drew her legs about my cheeks like a frame. Oh, did they feel nice?
Please let me go, Mr. Martin. Do please, somebody will come along and you'll get me into trouble.
I'll get you into trouble for just this? Why, this is nothing but to cure a toothache.
I went pale. Couldn't move with him holding me so hard. Everything had changed in a flash. He had changed. I'd never seen a person look that way. Please, Mr. Martin, let me get down.
Oh, I felt her legs around my face and closed my eyes. Oh, this is just nice. Something smells sweet, like May apples.
He seemed murmuring to himself, not her. His face was getting closer and closer. He was burying his face between my... Help me! Oh, help me! Come quick!
jumped down off the chair, and there was my uncle and two of his biggest, strongest slaves staring at me. The girl took giddy like I was just trying to help her out of a tree. Top of the morning to y'all.
Do you really want to keep going?
Yeah, I think we're all ready for a break now. I think we're all ready for a break now. I would go downstairs for a bit of tea and maybe some sandwiches.
Sounds perfect.
Oh.
Shall I bring some questions?
Oh, why not? Are you coming, Nancy?
Oh, actually, I think I'm gonna stay up here. If I go downstairs, they'll put me to work.
You're enjoying this?
I'm not sure if enjoy is the right word.
Well, whatever the word is, you're doing a damn fine job of it.
Miss Catherine?
Time for lunch.
Where there was darkness, now there's only light. Once I was filled with dread, but now I'm high as a kite. Everything's turned on its head, but it all feels so right. It's just like waking up after a long and dreamless night. Was I stunned? Was I blind, deaf, and dumb? Were my senses numb before I knew you? Did I smile? Maybe once in a great while. That was not my style before I knew you. And now I see that life can be so much more. I'm spreading my wings and I'm ready to soar. Finally I'm home. Look at me spiraling out of control into you. What else can I do? I was resigned, thought the stars would not align. Nearly went out of my mind before I knew you. But then I felt the magic start, playing someone else's part. I discovered my own heart, and it was all because of you. And now I see that life can be so much more. I'm spreading my wings and I'm ready to soar. Finally I'm home. Look at me spiraling out of control into you. What else can I do? What else can I do? What else can I do? What else can
Look, Catherine, did you sleep out here?
I woke up at 4 a.m. and I couldn't get back to sleep, so I came out and started going through the desk, and look what I found.
The last letter you wrote me from Jaffrey.
When was that? A year ago?
2. I know I'm supposed to burn all of our correspondence, but this one. My darling Edith, I'm sitting in your room, looking out in the woods you know so well. So far, everything delights me. I am ashamed of my appetite for food, and as for sleep, I have forgotten that sleeping can be an active and very strong physical pleasure. It can. Has been for all the 3 nights. I wake up now and then, saturated with the pleasure of breathing in the clear mountain air. Not cold, just crisp air. Of being high up, with all the woods below me sleeping too. still, white moonlight. It is a grand feeling. 1 hour from now, out of your window, I shall see a sight unparalleled. Jupiter and Venus both shining in the golden rosy sky, and both to the west, she above the horizon, and he about midway between the zenith and the silvery lady planet. From 5:30 to 6:30, they are both of a superb splendor, deepening in color every second in the still daylight sky, guiltless of other stars, the moon not up and the sun gone down behind Gap Mountain. These two alone in all the vault of heaven.
And the lady so silvery still slips down into the clear rose-colored glow to be near the departed sun. Imperial Jupiter hangs there alone, and the lady so silvery still
Slips down into the clear rose-colored glow
to be near the departed sun. Imperial Jupiter hangs there alone.
He goes down about 8:30. Surely it reminds one of Dante's Eternal Wheels. I can't but believe that all that majesty and all that beauty, those faded and unfailing appearances and exits, are something more than mathematics and horrible temperatures. They are not. Then we are the only wonderful things, because we can wonder. And now, I must dress to receive the planets, dear, as I shall not wish to do so once they appear, and they will not wait for anybody. Lovingly, Willa. Cannot remember when I have enjoyed Jupiter so much as this summer.
Make sure you're in.
See, I was going to leave you a note downstairs, but you beat me to it. You're very early.
Yeah, I couldn't wait to get here. Yesterday was so amazing, so unlike anything I've ever done in Jaffrey in my life before. Is everything all right? Where's Willa? Why are we whispering?
Willa Cather had a bad night last night. She stayed up late trying to write, but her hand got worse and worse. I'm thinking today we're going to put a call into Dr. Sweeney and see if he can come by.
whispering.
You should go now.
Is there anything I can do to help?
Who are you talking to, Edith, dearest? You know it's irritating to the... Oh, Nancy, dear. Oh, great, you're early. My head is full of ideas.
Actually, Miss Cather, I was just leaving. I didn't know you weren't well.
Oh, no, nonsense. We had a wonderful day yesterday. So many ideas, I just can't write them down. Edith, let's
Willa
begin.
Cather, I really don't think it's a good idea for you to be
No,
writing.
you'll
today.
have to do the writing for me, Edith. And Nancy, can you occasionally turn pages for me?
Well, sure, but Edith thinks it's a good idea for us to call Dr. Sweeney and have
I
him come.
love your doctor. I mean, he's wonderful. He's read all my books, or so he claims, and he's from Quebec, so the only one we ever end up discussing is Shadows on the Rock. But he is good company in the afternoon for an hour or two, but he isn't much of a medical expert. But then again, the doctors in New York have not been able to figure out this thing. Oh,
Can I tell sure you want to do this, Willa Cather?
Yes, I am. Now, please, let's begin. Ready, Nancy?
I am.
Yeah, Edith, dearest?
Yes. One question before we get started.
All right.
did the name Willa come from?
I was named after my Uncle William, who died fighting for the South in the Civil War.
And is it true you called yourself William when you were in high school?
That question again, didn't somebody already... Oh, right. William Cather, M.D., if you must say.
William Cather, MD.
I was bored to death in high school. There were 3 in our senior class, that's all. I mean, cutting off my hair and pretending to be a man helped a bit. Now, I've got some new material I'd like to hear before my wrist gave out. I mean, Edith needs the beard for Henry, and the Miller with The Secret. Oh, Edith, you'll also be reading Bluebell, the devoted house slave with a lovely singing voice. Nancy, you'll sit out for a bit, but you'll be back soon and ready to take the trip of your life.
I can't wait.
Oh, that's the attitude. Now, do you need help with a beard? Oh, and you'll also be reading Washington, the house slave. Who
Well, that's
helps-
going to be confusing. I'm reading Nancy's mother, her birth father, and her grandfather.
Well, we wouldn't have given you all those parts if we didn't know you'd do such a great job, Anita. Right, Nancy?
For days now, the slaves who worked in the mill with me, or raised the sheep with me, or the vegetables, or kept the house running, had been seeking me out. None of these encounters were anywhere near where Sapphira could hear. The slaves were very careful as they sought me out. It was old Washington who spoke first about the matter. Master Henry, I'd like to talk to you about something I got in my mind, but I don't rightly know if it's my place to. Speak out, Washington. Sapphira can't hear you. Mr. Henry, I'm afraid Mr. Martin worries Nancy a right smart. Worries her? How worries her? What do you mean, worries her? Well, sir, you know how them young fellows is. They likes to fool around a pretty girl even if she is colored. I don't say she means no harm, but she ain't used to them ways, and she seems kind of scared-like all the time. My face took on a dark flush. I wasn't used to talking about Nancy. I'll keep an eye on my nephew, Washington, and Nancy's a good girl. We'll all have to keep an eye out for her. I did not get much sleep that night. I had distrusted my nephew from the first, but I had never thought of him in connection with Nancy. To me, Nancy's scarcely more than a child. Nancy. For all the years she's been growing up on the farm, at the mill, she seemed like more of an influence than a person. A shy, devoted young woman, cleans up after us, comes in and out of the mill like a soft spring breeze. She brings in lunch for us, picks up, and all of this is for love. She has nothing to gain beyond the pleasure of seeing him pleased.
I think she's writing about you.
Don't be silly.
Henry?
Now that I must see her as a woman enticing to men, I shrink from seeing her at all. Something is lost out of that sweet companionship, or companionship it had been, though it be but a smile and a glance, a greeting in the fresh morning hours. It is high time for me to get involved.
Ouch!
Oh, that's enough. I'm going downstairs to call Dr. Sweeney. Let's stop. Nancy, will you help Willa Cather with the costumes and then maybe into bed?
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have come.
You've done nothing wrong, my child.
Well, what did you think of what we just read? I mean, did it make sense? Did it seem out of character?
Aren't you
Was it-
supposed to be resting?
Oh, and I can't rest, not here, not now. Jeffrey is for writing. With your help, I feel like writing again. Oh, really hear the idea that Henry comes up with. Here. Oh!
No, okay, Miss Cather, I promise Edith I'd help you, not hurt you.
Oh, you can drop the Miss Cather while Edith isn't around.
Really?
Yes. My brother Douglas, he took care of me. It's like somehow he was born into this world with the idea that his older sister should never be scared, never be hurt. Did Edith tell you he died suddenly 2 months ago? It was just a shock to all of us.
She did. Your friend Isabel.
Oh, Isabel Clun. Oh, I dedicated every book I ever wrote to her. She was my muse, my inspiration, my life. I'll dedicate this one to her too if I ever get it done.
She must have been quite the woman.
Do you ever wonder if this will be your last one?
I beg your pardon?
Oh, no, of course you don't. You're young. I never thought about my last one until this year, but with all the deaths, the stupid risk, the hurricane. I keep wondering if I'm ever going to finish this novel, if I'll ever start another one, who's going to be gone?
The world's an awful place, and it is only getting worse. Some rail against the fates, while others gnash their teeth and curse. Yet I found a solution. I am never ill at ease. I just imagine all the nasty possibilities. Well, let's see if it works for you. Just think of the horrible things that could happen to you. Think in the blink of an eye, your life could be through. It's true. You could get run over by a car, smoke a poisonous cigar, maybe fall into a vat of tar. I'm telling you, baby, it could happen to you. Just think of the horrible things that could happen to you.
Think of the horrible things that could happen to you.
Think in the blink of an eye, your life could be through. It's true. You could be devoured by a bear,
Left to die in the Sahara.
or strapped to an electric chair. I'm telling you, baby, it could happen to you. Just change your perspective and emulate me. Your life can be transformed by the power of negativity when life gives you lemons.
Just picture them starting to rot.
Yes! And instead of seeing your glass as half empty, I want you to picture that beautiful, pristine glass shattered on the floor in a million pieces. Feeling better? Just think of the horrible things that could happen to you.
Horrible things that could happen to you.
Think in the blink of an eye, your life could be through. It's true that you could one day fall off of a cliff.
Small arsenic, what's the dip?
So many ways to end up a stiff.
I'm telling you, baby.
I'm telling you, baby. I'm telling you, baby.
It could happen to you.
I asked him to bring up some tea, and I talked to Dr. Sweeney. He said to rest until he gets here.
Yes, yes.
Is there anything I can do to help?
I think we're good. Oh, yes,
Oh.
please put away the beard. Don't want to tempt Willa Catherine now, do we?
No, we certainly don't. Goodbye, Willa.
Oh, bye-bye, Nancy. Thank you for listening.
It was my pleasure. Maybe tomorrow we can finish.
Thank you, Nancy.
Or you could write novels by the score with the people you adore and live to be 104. I'm telling you, baby, it could happen to you.
She here yet?
Oh, show some enthusiasm, my dear Edith. She has done wonders for you and me, you have to admit.
She certainly has gotten you writing again. Let's answer another telegram question while we wait. Did you visit New Mexico before you wrote Death Comes for the Archbishop?
You can answer that one. Where is that girl?
I think she felt bad about coming early yesterday.
Why Why should she feel badly? I mean, she was the only good part about yesterday.
Willa Cather, you mean to tell me the life-saving visit from Dr. Sweeney wasn't the high point of your week?
You had no good medical advice and you only wanted to talk about Steinbeck.
Here I am! Sorry if I'm late.
You're fine.
I want you to hear what Henry has to say about Sapphira. It's about their relationship and how he feels about her and how
Willa
they're
Cather,
together.
give the girl a moment to catch her breath.
Have you caught your breath? All right, good. Now, here we go. This will go near the end of the book towards the final chapters. It's an opportunity to understand Sapphira's shades of kindness and cruelty.
Shades of kindness and cruelty. I like that.
There's been a plague of dropsy in Virginia, and two of Nancy's nieces have already died, and even her own mother, Bluebell, is nearly dead. Sapphira has old Washington wheel her down to the slave cabins where she takes care of every one of the sick children and adults until the fevers have gone away. Her husband, Henry, remembers this near the end of the book.
After she was old and ill, she never lowered her flag. Not even now, when she knew the end was not far off. He had seen strong men quail and whimper at the approach of death. He himself dreaded it, but he knew how it would be with her. She would make her death easy for everyone, because she would meet it with the composure which he had sometimes called heartlessness, like inviting her nephew Martin to stay with them, but which now seemed to him strength. As long as she was conscious, she would be mistress of the situation and of herself. It's wonderful, Willa. Wonderful.
I have some questions. I mean, I understand Henry and Sapphira a lot better, but I'm wondering,
Yes?
you're doing it different.
Doing what different?
How Henry talks? He's not telling us what he's thinking, someone else is.
She's changing from first person to third.
I think I can dig deeper, have more of a story, lay in more background if it's in the third.
Definitely. This is going to be a long, slow rewrite with
Oh,
her hand and all.
I know, but it's a rewrite. I want to do it. There's a rewrite I want to do and I know how to do.
And then I had another question about Nancy. Well, in the story.
Once again it's happening. Once again I'm free. Words are pouring out of me like raging rivers rushing to the sea. And I can't stop the flow. I couldn't if I tried. I'm surfing on a sea of words. I'm swept up in the tide. Oh, let me ride. Let her ride forever. Just let me ride. Oh, let her ride forever. Let my words turn to phrases, paragraphs into pages galore. I'll always want this I know. Just let me ride forever. Oh, Joe.
Careful, Willa Cather, careful.
I'm fine. I just got a little too excited. Oh, I can't tell you how great it feels to finally be able to finish this one.
You don't have to tell me. After all these years together, I understand.
Excuse me. I'm sorry to interrupt. I did have one more question.
Oh yes, Willa Cather loves questions. Go ahead.
Okay, so if we're getting towards the end of the story and Sapphira is getting ready to die, what happened to Nancy? Did Martin ever do what he was thinking of? And if he did, what was that like for Nancy? And if Nancy
Give
has
Willa Cather some time to answer these questions with her writing. She's just had a big breakthrough, and now she has to go back and rethink and rewrite everything. Give her time.
Okay, you're right, I'm sorry. It's just, having read part of the book, I really want to know how it
Henry
ended.
comes up with an idea. After Martin gets drunk and threatens Nancy even more, he decides to send her up north to Canada on the Underground Railway.
The Underground Railway, I've heard of that.
It ran right through New
So
Hampshire.
Henry uses money he keeps at the mill to cover the costs, and he even lets Nancy's mother, Bluebell, go with her as far as New Hampshire. She makes it up to Toronto, where she does quite well for herself, but no one in the family sees her for 25 years. What with the Civil War and emancipation and all.
Is the ending when Nancy returns going to be back in first person?
Has to be. I was in the room the day that Nancy returned. 6 years old, but my memory mind is clear as can be.
So these were real people? People you knew?
You're going to have to start sending telegrams with all these questions, Nancy.
Down by the canebrake, out by the mill, da lived a yalla gal, her name was Nancy.
Will that be the end of Martin? You know, the last Nancy has to deal with him or any others like him.
Well, she becomes a maid for wealthy lady.
There were Martins up in Canada, I reckon.
Oh, and Nancy was far away from all her people all that time, and she was away from old Washington, her father Henry, I mean, even complicated Sapphira.
But tell me she lived happily ever after.
Well, I can't tell you that because I haven't finished writing the book yet. Well, this is going to be one long rewrite.
And who knows what will happen during that long rewrite.
But hasn't this last few days of reading the book out loud helped you with anything?
Oh, Nancy, it's helped me enormously, more than you can know. I mean, so smile for me and Edith, you and Nancy. New beginnings. New beginnings. Here's to the happiness we find.
New beginnings, although they're seldom what we had in mind.
New beginnings, which one will you choose? Knowing win or lose, we must go on.
Just remember the darkest hours just before the dawn. Optim ideas, prima fugit. The best days are the first to flee. One day my words will disappear for good. Who will remember me? I yearn to see my destiny.
Sapphira was rewritten quickly for Miss Cather when she and Edith returned to New York City. It would be the last full-length piece of fiction she ever wrote. It was a huge success for her.
New beginnings, here's to the past we leave behind.
New beginnings, may the fates be merciful and kind.
New beginnings, blossoming every day. We will find our way, you'll see.
New beginnings,
Still I wonder what's in store.
Maybe there is something more.
there's no point in dwelling on what was before. For me, new beginnings.
And what will be, will be.
Willow worked off and on for the next 7 years on a short story and other works. No, her collected works did come out, complete with answers to some, but not all, of her personal secrets. Edith wrote a book after Willa's death about their relationship that left more questions than it answered. They're both buried in the corner of the Jaffreytown Cemetery. You can see their graves from this window. And me, I started college spring semester thanks